Overlord Vexthak had conquered 17 star systems, enslaved 43 species, and built an empire that stretched across half the galaxy. Standing 8 feet tall with chitinous armor and 6 arms that could crush steel, he was the terror of the known universe. But today, as he gazed down at the small pink creature cowering in the cage before him, he felt only amusement. "So these are the famous humans," Vexthak rumbled, his mandibles clicking with laughter. "The species that claims to be warriors?" The human, a female specimen with dark hair and defiant eyes, glared up at him through the energy bars. She was barely 5.5 feet tall, soft-skinned, and possessed only 2 arms. Pathetic. "We are warriors," she said, her voice steady despite her circumstances. "My name is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet, and you've made a grave mistake." Vexthak's laughter echoed through the throne room, causing his assembled generals to join in. The sound was like grinding metal. "A mistake? Child, your entire species will make excellent pets. You're small, relatively intelligent, and your emotional responses are quite entertaining." He gestured to his aide, a 4-armed Zelthrian. "Send word to the fleet. We'll round up a few million humans for the exotic pet trade. The rest we'll keep for entertainment." Captain Chen's hands tightened into fists. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." "Oh, but I do." Vexthak leaned closer to the cage. "I've studied your species. You're apex predators on a world with no real threats. You've never faced true adversity. Your military relies on technology rather than natural strength. You're soft." The captain's smile was cold. "Sir, with respect, you couldn't be more wrong." 3 days later, Vexthak's confidence began to waver. The human fleets that had arrived weren't fleeing, they were attacking. Worse, they were winning. "How is this possible?" he bellowed at his tactical officer. "They have inferior numbers and primitive weapons." "Sir," the officer's voice quavered, "they're not fighting like any species we've encountered. They use tactics we've never seen. They sacrifice themselves to save others. They refuse to surrender even when facing certain death." On the main screen, Vexthak watched in horror as a single human ship rammed into his flagship's escort, destroying both vessels. The human captain had deliberately crashed his ship rather than allow the aliens to board and capture his crew. "They're insane," whispered General Kraxtor. "No," Captain Chen said from her cage, having been brought to the bridge to witness her species' inevitable defeat. "They're human." Vexthak whirled on her. "Your people are throwing their lives away." "For what?" "For each other," she replied simply. "For freedom. For the right to exist without bowing to tyrants like you." The battle raged for 6 hours. Vexthak's forces, despite their superior technology and numbers, found themselves systematically outmaneuvered and outfought. The humans displayed a creativity in combat that bordered on the supernatural. They turned cargo ships into bombs, used their own damaged vessels as shields for others, and coordinated attacks with a precision that spoke to something deeper than mere military training. But it was what happened next that truly shattered Vexthak's worldview. A transmission came through on all frequencies. A human male appeared on every screen in the fleet, scarred, bloodied, but unbowed. Behind him, Vexthak could see the bridge of a human destroyer that was clearly dying, flames and sparks erupting from damaged consoles. "This is Admiral Marcus Torres of the Earth Defense Fleet," the human said, his voice carrying across space to every alien vessel. "To all beings held captive by the Vexthak Empire, today your chains are broken." The Admiral's eyes found the camera, and somehow Vexthak felt as though the human was looking directly at him. "We came here not for conquest, but for liberation. We offer you what we ourselves hold most dear, freedom. Fight with us and know that humans will stand beside you. Run if you must, and know that we will cover your retreat. Stay and serve tyranny if you choose, and know that we will still fight for your children's right to choose differently." Then the Admiral did something that made Vexthak's blood run cold. He smiled. "To Overlord Vexthak, who thinks we are pets, you were right about one thing. We are apex predators, but not of our world, of the universe itself, and the only thing we hunt is oppression. The transmission cut out as the human destroyer exploded, taking 3 of Vexthak's battleships with it in a final defiant act. What followed was unprecedented in galactic history. Across Vexthak's empire, enslaved species began to rebel. The Zelthrians abandoned their posts. The Corvani turned their weapons on their overseers. Even some of Vexthak's own soldiers, members of client species forced into service, began laying down their arms. On the bridge, General Crackstor approached his overlord with something Vexthak had never seen in his eyes before: doubt. "Sir," Crackstor said slowly, "perhaps we should consider terms." "Terms?" Vexthak's roar shook the bridge. "I am overlord of—" "Sir?" The interruption came from his communications officer. "We're receiving surrender requests from 17 sectors. Our slave populations are revolting on 41 worlds, and sir, Admiral Torres is still alive." Vexthak's 6 arms trembled. "Impossible. I saw his ship explode. He transferred to an escape pod at the last second and has been rescued. He's requesting to speak with you directly." On the main screen, the face that had haunted Vexthak's nightmares appeared. Admiral Torres looked tired but unbroken, and behind him stood Captain Chen, somehow freed from her cage. "Overlord," Torres said simply, "it's time to talk." Vexthak looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers, some afraid, some awed, all of them seeing him differently now. For the first time in his life, the great conqueror understood what it meant to face an enemy that couldn't be broken. "What do you want?" he whispered. Torres's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "What we've always wanted. For everyone to have the right to be free." Vexthak stared at the screen for a long moment, then slowly raised all 6 of his arms. In the universal gesture of surrender, around him his bridge crew, these soldiers who had never shown deference to anyone but him, bowed their heads to the human admiral. In that moment, Vexthak finally understood the truth. Humans weren't pets to be collected, or primitives to be conquered. They were something far more dangerous and beautiful. They were hope itself, weaponized and unleashed upon the galaxy. And hope, he realized, was the one thing that no empire could ever truly defeat.